All right. The next thing we're going to be talking about now is a reconnaissance, which is what we know as a information gathering. So when we're talking about information gathering, what does information gathering mean? Which is what they call reconnaissance. Information gathering is a set of processes and techniques. When we're talking about techniques, it can be scanning, it can be footprinting and enumeration used to discover and collect information from a target system. So information gathering is a set of techniques that an hacker or ethical hacker use to discover and collect information from a target system. So when we're talking about the first stage of hacking, the first stage of hacking is what we know as information gathering, because before a bad guy can hack into a network, he have already gathered a lot of information about the victim. So before the bad guy can gather the information about the victim, he needs to carry out what we call information gathering. So that is the first stage of an hacking. So information gathering is also what they know as a reconnaissance. Okay, so here says an example of a information that we can be gathered. We can gather active machine. We can gather how many machine that is active on the network. We can actually gather the IP address to check IP address on the victim. We can gather the open port to know the open port that is open on the victim network, and we can actually gather the running service to know which type of service that is running on the victim. We can actually gather the operating system details to know what type of OS the victim running on their network. So those are the different type of information. We still have a lot of things. There are more. So we can gather a lot of information about the victim, which means that this is the first stage that a bad guy or ethical hacker does before they hack into a network. They need to know more about the victim that they want to hack into. For example, let's make myself an example. If I want to talk to someone that I don't even know before, I need to know more about the person before I can be able to communicate to the person. So what are the things I need to know? I need to know the language. Maybe the person maybe the person belongs to another language or something like that. So I need to know so that I will know what type of language I will use to communicate with the person. The same thing with an information gathering. Before bad guy can hack into a network, they need to know more about the network, and they will now know where they will pass through the information that they have gathered. So when we're talking about this information gathering, we have different type of information gathering. We have two type, which is the active recognizer and we have a passive recognizer. Okay, so we have two type of information gathering, active and we have passive. So when we're talking about active reconnaissance is information gather while actively interacting with the target system. So active recognizer is when we are actively asking the information from the target. For example, let's assume that I want to hack into google.com now. Once I want to hack into google.com, I now goes to Google and I'm now asking Google all the information. I ask Google, hey Google, what's your operating system? And it responds to me. Those are what we call them active information gathering, when the information is gathered while actively interacting with the target system. So we are asking the victim directly. Okay, active recognizer is risky because it can be detected by the target, but it usually provides the attacker with more reliable and accurate information. Yeah, basically, active recognizer is when we are asking the victim directly. This active recognizer is very, very risky because the owner of the network can detect the person that is asking the such information. But any information that we gather with active recognition is going to give us an accurate and reliable information. All those information going to be reliable and accurate because we are asking the victim the information directly. So the victim going to be giving us the legit and the reliable information. But such type of information gathering is very, very risky. In which way? The reason why it's risky is that this method of recognizer also risk triggering the target system device, such as firewall, intrusion detection system, and intrusion prevention system. Okay, so if such victim has firewall on the network and we are carrying out active recognizer on the network, all those firewall IDS, they will be making an alarm, and inside that alarm you will see all the IP where the person is launching the attack from. You will see the IP. So that's the reason why it's risk, and the victim can dictate the search out on the network. So active recognizers is the information gathered while actively interacting with the target. But this type of active recognizer is risky because it's going to be triggering all the target security devices, and they can know wherever the such attack is coming from. So let's go to the second type of a recognizer, which is a passive. This passive reconnaissance is also referred to as OSINT. OSINT, which is a open source intelligence, is the process of learning about the target system without directly interacting with it. So when we're talking about passive, let's assume that I want to gain information. I want to know everything about google.com. I'm now going to another third party to know the information. It's not maybe I'm asking google.com directly. That is what we call passive information gathering. So passive information gathering is a process of learning about the target system without directly interacting with it. So I want you to know the difference between the active and passive. Active is when we directly asking the victim, but passive is when we are not asking the victim directly. So here means that the information about the target can be gathered from third parties such as DNS. You can use DNS, you can use Wappalyzer, Shodan, Netcraft, Google, social network sites, and so on. So all those things, we can gather those information from third party source. But passive recognizers, it is not risky because the victim is not going to be detecting us. But when we're talking about active recognizer, it's very, very risky because the victim can dictate our IP address. Okay, so those are the two types of information gathering. Okay, here we have different tools that we can use to carry out information gathering. We have different tools. When we're talking about passive recognizer tools, the first tools we can use Wappalyzer. Anytime we are using Wappalyzer, such information gathering falls under passive, which means that it is not risky. Anytime you are using whoisdomaintools.com, it falls under passive. Anytime you are using crt.sh, it falls under passive. Anytime you are using avibipon.com, it falls under passive. We have builtwith.com, all those guys falls under passive. We have Alter.io, Shodan.io, Google Docking. So all these particular tools here, we can use all these tools to carry out a passive reconnaissance. So, but when we're talking about active reconnaissance, we can make use of a Nmap. We can use Nmap to carry out active reconnaissance. We can use Zenmap to carry out active reconnaissance, and we can use Nitco. So anytime you are making use of a Nmap, Zenmap, Nitco, you should you must be aware that that particular information gathering is risky because the victim can easily be detecting us if the victim has firewall, IDS, IPS on their network. They can be detecting us and they can be getting our IP address and they can trace us to wherever we are. So what I want you to put in mind anytime you are using active is risky. Anytime you are doing passive, it is not risky. But active is the one that are going to giving you accurate and reliable information rather than passive. So when we're talking about Nmap and Zmap, these two tools here, they actually the same thing. Nmap and Zmap are the same thing, but Nmap here is a CLI, which is a command line interface. So if you are using Nmap, you need to know the command that you'll be using to be running all those things. But when we're talking about Zenmap, Zenmap is a GUI, which is a graphical user interface. So you don't need to learn more about command before you can use Nmap. It's easier to use, and Nmap, you know commands to run it. So the next thing we will be talking about right now is how to gather some information. So I'm going to walk you through on how to gather some little information on a victim. So we have a lot of tools that we'll be using here. The first thing we'll be using here is we're going to be using Wappalyzer. Here says use Wappalyzer to discover website technologies on Udemy. So we're going to learn how to use Wappalyzer to discover a website technology. Okay, so the first thing we want to use right now is a Wappalyzer. We want to learn how to make use of Wappalyzer. So I'm going to come out with my browser. So if you want to use Wappalyzer, is either you have a Chrome browser or you have a Firefox. So I'm going to come out with my Chrome. I'm going to come out with my Chrome browser. And if you have a Firefox as well, it's fine. So anyone that you have. So once you are in the browser, I'm using Chrome. I will just type Wappalyzer. I will type Wappalyzer for Chrome. But if you are using Firefox, you will just type Wappalyzer for Firefox. So after that, you click on it. So once you click on it, you're going to click on this option. You click on the first option. Once you click on first option, I've already added it before. So that's the reason why you are seeing something like that. So you as a beginner, once you go there, you will see option that says add to Chrome. So for you guys that are using Firefox as well, you will see option that says add to Firefox. So you're just going to click on it and you click on add extension. So you're going to hold on for this thing to completed. So you go to your browser. If you are using Firefox or Chrome, then you just type Wappalyzer for Firefox, Wappalyzer for Chrome. Click on the first option and you see option that says add to Chrome or add to Firefox. So once you click on it, you need to hold on for some seconds until you see the message that say Wappalyzer has been installed. So once you see the message, yeah, we are now good to go. We are now good to go. So we're going to hold on a little bit. All right, so after that, you're going to see a message that says Wappalyzer has been installed. So once you see the message, it's showing you that you have successfully installed the extension on your browser. So if you're using Chrome or you are using Firefox, so anyone you are using, you need to go and download the Wappalyzer for it. So if it comes to the to the material we are using, here says use Wappalyzer to discover website technology on the udemy.com. But before we go ahead and use it, I showed you how to install the extension to your web browser. So after that, let's go ahead and use it. Once you have downloaded that part, once you have installed that particular Wappalyzer, anytime you want to use it, just browse to the particular website that you want to get the information. So if I go to udemy.com, just hit enter key. As you are going to that particular website, your Wappalyzer going to be getting the information of that particular website. So I browse to udemy.com. So here, if I come to my extension, you're going to see the Wappalyzer here. So if I cancel this and I go to udemy.com, any website you're going to be seeing the information. You will see your Wappalyzer here and you're going to be seeing all those information. So before I go, if I click on this particular Wappalyzer, you will see that this guy discovered like 10 information about that particular website. So if I click on it, you're going to see the information. It's going to disclose all the information. The first thing is telling us the analytics that this Udemy is using. They are making use of a Google Analytics and they are using Facebook Pixel. So those are the analytics that Udemy is using. So if you come here, you will see their security. The security that this particular website is using, they are using Cloudflare bot management. They are using Cloudflare bot management. That's the security that they are using. And you should verify that you are a human being. So the CDN they are using Cloudflare. The advertising. So this particular website run an advertising on where? Twitter. They are running Twitter ads. They are running Reddit ads and Microsoft and advertising. So that's what they are using as advertising. And you see the reverse proxy that they are using is Envoy, and the cookie compliances is a OneTrust, and the survey is a Qualaro. So here you see the information about that particular website. But if you want to deep down to get more deeper information, you're going to click on more info. And this more info, you need to be a subscriber. You need to subscribe and purchase a key before you can have a deep down and information. So that's how you make use of that Wappalyzer. So if I want to get information on another website, I go to the website. If I go to zsecurity, let's assume I go to zsecurity.org. So here is a website. So any website that you want to gather your information, you need to browse to the website first. Once you browse to the website, it goes to your Wappalyzer extension, you're going to see that particular information. So as you see here now, my Wappalyzer has discovered like 33 information about this particular website. So if I click on it, it's going to show me all the information. You will see the CMS that they are using here is what? Is WordPress. So all this thing we are doing here is the first state of a hacking, which is a information gathering, when a bad guy wants to know everything and what you are running on the network. As you see, the WordPress is a 6.7.2. A bad guy is going to go and check the latest version of WordPress. If it is not the same thing here, that means that they have already found one vulnerability on the network. So for example, if I come here, let me browse to my another URL and I say, what's the WordPress latest version? So WordPress latest version. So let's hold on for this to come up. So as you can see, the latest version of WordPress is a 6.7. 6.7 is the latest version. So if I come back to this information gathering, if I come back here, let's hold on for this guy to display the information again. So if I close, I come back and I open the Wappalyzer. Okay, so you're going to see that the latest version of this WordPress here is a 6.7, which means that the WordPress that they are running here is up to date. Yeah, the WordPress that this particular website is using is up to date. So imagine that I found out that this particular website is a 6.5. That is a weakness. That is a vulnerable, which means that bad guy have already get one weaknesses. So if you come here, the e-commerce that they are using here, they are running WooCommerce, and we have the version of that particular commerce. The analytics, they're running both Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel and Cloudflare. So those are the analytics. The blogs they are running WordPress. The JavaScript framework they are running, they are using React, and here is a version of the React. So the security that this particular website is making use, this website making use of a Cloudflare Toaster, and they are using reCAPTCHA as a security capture. So you're going to see all the information about that particular website. The database that this website is using, they are using MySQL, and the CDN they are using is a Cloudflare. The programming language here is what? Is a PHP. So those are how a bad guy gather information about the specific victim that they want to attack. So the advertisement is a Twitter ad. Okay, so that's how you make use of a Wappalyzer to gather information about the victim that you want to hack. So let's move to the next one. So that's how to make use of a Wappalyzer to gather information on a victim.